2 copies?
Oh, sorry. It's okay. All right, the time is 7:17. We'll now call this public hearing of the Board of Selectmen to order pursuant, and I'm going to read the legal notice of the public hearing. Pursuant to Section 503I of the Portland Town Charter, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 7:15 in the Buck Foreman Community Room, 265 Main Street, Portland, Connecticut, to provide residents the opportunity to comment both orally and in writing on the proposed 2022 Connecticut Neighborhood Assistance Act, or NAA, program available to interested nonprofit organizations in Portland. Dated the 7th day of April, 2022, attests Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman. So with that, we will open the public hearing for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this?
Nothing to check.
We'll give it a minute. And I did bring, for anyone interested on this program, I did bring some more information on this, so I can pass this around to the selectmen if anyone would like to read about it as well. Any comments, Dave? No. Or seeing no comments, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? So the motion closes, or the public hearing closes at 7:19 p.m. And for the selectmen, we do have an additional public hearing that will be at 7:20.
But who's counting?
In 1 minute.
Good thing that first hearing didn't go 6 minutes.
We're at 7:19 now.
Dave? Okay. The time is 7:20, and I will now call this public hearing to order. And I have a legal notice for the public hearing that I'm going to read. No, actually, let me read this instead. So, legal notice of public hearing, Board of Selectmen, Wednesday, April 20th, 7:20 p.m. Town of Portland, Connecticut, 06480. Pursuant to Chapter 12, Section 12034 of the Town Charter, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 7:20 p.m. at the Buck Foreman Community Room, 265 Main Street, Portland, Connecticut, regarding the proposed supplemental appropriation in the amount of $169,480. At the hearing, all interested persons may be heard and written communications will be received. Public access through the Zoom link A, www.portlandct.org. Whereas the Board of Education, otherwise known as the BOE, has been awarded a Federal Communication Commission's Emergency Connectivity Fund Program, or CFDA, 32.009 grant in the amount of $169,480. The initial purchase of Chromebooks was funded by capital lease proceeds. Based on the lease schedule, approximately $150,000 of principal will be paid back by September 1, 2022. And whereas the funds should be used for similar Chromebook purchases or other hardware technology, and whereas the Board of Ed has been awarded another grant from E-Rate that will directly provide to the BOE 370 Chromebooks at roughly $77,150. E-rate will directly pay the vendor for the devices. The BOE will be responsible for licensing, warranty, carrying cases, and accessories related to the devices. And whereas the BOE requests to use a portion of the $169,480 to cover these related Chromebook charges for licensing, warranty, carrying cases, and accessories, the remainder of the funds will be used for technology, hardware, such as, but not limited to, smartboards, projectors, laptops, desktop computers, and printers. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Selectmen hereby approves an increase in estimated revenue in number 08, account 08-141-000-00114 of federal grants and a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $169,480 in line item number 08-141-000-89010, Board of Education, system-wide BOE, technology upgrades, dated at Portland, Connecticut, this 7th day of April, 2022. Attest Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman. So before we open up to public comments on this, I do want to say that this is a public hearing. This will have to go to a town meeting as well. And our superintendent, Dr. Britton, is here as well. If I don't know if you have any comments on this, if you're here, but right now I think we'll listen to the public. Is there any comments in the public on this?
Nothing in chat.
Okay. Is there any public comments in the audience? Give it a second. Seeing no public comments, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ralph. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Is the meeting paused now, or are we still?
We're still recording.
Okay. You can pause? We have another 5 minutes, so I don't know. And those in the audience, there's agendas on the counter, if anyone would like to see an agenda for the meeting. All right, the time is 7:31, and we'll call this meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, so would you all please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the next item on tonight's agenda is approval of minutes. The first minutes we have for approval are the regular Board of Selectmen minutes from April 6, 2022. Has everyone been able to review those?
Mhm.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you, Sean and John. Any errors, changes, or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of April 6th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? Motion carries. The next minutes that we have are a special meeting of the Board of Selectmen on March 30th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I make a motion, we approve those minutes.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, John. Any errors, changes, or omissions on the special meeting of March 30th? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? Motion carries. The next item we have is a budget workshop on March 30th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve those minutes as
I'll
well?
make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Thank you, John.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sean. All those in favor, or excuse me, any errors, changes, omissions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the budget workshop minutes of March 30th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? Motion carries. All right, the next item is the acceptance of agenda. I do have one change to tonight's agenda. Under new business, we're going to add a letter. Instead of I, refunds of excess payments, that's going to become letter J. And I will now be the resolution to approve the 2022 Neighborhood Assistance Act program participation. And with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda
I
as
make a
amended?
motion.
Thank you, Sean.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ralph. All those in favor of approval of the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? Thank you all. Communications and correspondence. We have some people from Complete Streets here this evening. Kathy Herron, did you want to come up and address the Board of Selectmen? Come on up.
Good evening, BOS members. I'm happy to be here to talk to you tonight. My name is Kathy Herron. I live at 23 Old Homestead Village. And I'd like to introduce the other members of our group that happen to be here tonight. Just going to come around. Bob Herron, Cynthia Roman, and John Hall. So when I spoke with you last January, I mentioned that our group was considering starting a pace car program in Portland, and I want to talk to you more about that tonight. So first I'll talk about the need for such a program. Then I'll talk about the interest and desire on the part of residents for such a program. And then John Hall will talk more specifically about what is a pace car program and what's involved in doing that in Portland. So I'm sure I would hope you would be all aware of the unfortunate news that pedestrian deaths have increased quite significantly in the state of Connecticut. From the Hartford Current on March 19th, I'm just going to read a couple of items of interest. So with at least 16 pedestrian deaths on Connecticut roads as of March 14th, 2022 could become one of the more deadly years for pedestrians in the state, continuing a troubling trend. In the past 10 years, the number of pedestrians struck and killed by cars has more than doubled. Think about that. 10 years, it has doubled despite what we know and further education about safety on our roads. Third, in 2011, There were 26 pedestrians killed on our roads, and last year there were 65 deaths. In the year, this was actually 2 years ago, 2020. And this includes a portion of the spring of 2020 when, of course, we know there were many fewer cars on the road due to COVID. Department of Transportation officials and advocates for improving roads for biking and walking agree on the causes. They are people driving larger and heavier vehicles, such as SUVs. People are driving those cars faster and more recklessly than before, especially during the pandemic. And there's also been less fear of being pulled over for certainly legitimate reasons. Police were not pulling over as many people, especially at the beginning of COVID with the concerns. And particularly many of the state roads in urban areas, they really are not designed for increased pedestrian traffic. But of course, the statistic is 1/3 of Americans do not drive. So many people do not have a vehicle to drive or aren't able to drive, so they are walking and cycling and getting around other ways. So that is the need in Connecticut. The U.S. Department of Transportation recently released the National Roadway Safety Strategy, and the trends are very troubling nationwide as well. So I'll just read a few statistics and pass along a couple of graphs. Speeding is a significant contributor to death on our roadways. In 2020, there were 10,490 fatalities that were estimated to have been speeding related. This represents an 11% increase from the prior year. So from 2019 to 2020, went up by 11%. And then they give some more statistics about risk of death depending on the speed. So I'll let you look at that in a moment. But specifically for pedestrians and bicyclists, over the past 10 years from 2010 to 2020, there's been an increase of cyclist fatalities, almost 45%. 45% more cyclists killed in the United States over a 10-year period. Very similar to pedestrians. That's even a little bit higher. There are about 6,200 people killed in the United States as pedestrians by vehicles. So I'm just going to pass around these two graphs again from the U.S. Department of Transportation in a recent report. So hopefully, maybe you already knew the need, but we are here tonight to talk about another traffic calming measure that is the pace car. But before John gets into that, I mentioned people have an interest and a desire to slow down, to be safe for themselves and, of course, for other people. So the AAA, Automobile Association of America Foundation, surveyed 10,000 drivers in the U.S., and they found the following. 96% of those they surveyed said, of course, it's unacceptable to type or text while you're driving, yet 1 in 4, or 27%, reported that they actually had done it in the last 30 days, despite the fact they know, of course, they shouldn't be doing it. Similarly, 94% said it's unacceptable to run a red light, yet 36% said, yes, I've done it, not me, in the last 30 days. One more, 90% said, of course, it's unacceptable to drive more than 10 miles per hour over the speed limit in a residential area, yet almost half, 44%, said they had done that in the past 30 days. So there is the need. There is what I think is the desire on the part of most residents in Portland to drive safely and responsibly for themselves and for others. So we are bringing what we hope will be a successful pace car program to Portland. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to, can't see him, but John Hall to talk about what is a pace car program.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Selectmen, for this opportunity to speak to this issue. This is my first time before this particular body, and I am grateful for this opportunity. Prior to tonight, we've had a number of meetings in the town of Portland about speeding. Speeding is a big concern of people, and when we had these meetings in the library, there was a very good turnout, and people were very upset about speeding. So we know there's a big concern about that in our town. And as Kathy mentioned, speed increases the likelihood of a fatality. If you get hit by a fast-moving car, the chances of it being fatal are much greater. And so this is about improving the consciousness of in all of us about how fast we're driving. The one little anecdote that came out of one of those prior meetings was a police officer told us about a woman who had been complaining about speeding on her road. And this was just like a side neighborhood road, people speeding down, and she was very upset. And she demanded that the police come out and put a patrol car there to arrest speeders on that street. And so a while passed, maybe it was a month or 6 weeks, and finally the police were out there on that road. And the first person that came down that road and was caught speeding was the very same person who had complained about speeding on her street. Quite an irony. But not to really fault that woman in particular. The fact is we all tend not to be afraid when we're speeding, and we're afraid of other people speeding. We want other people to slow down. That's kind of our nature. So I wanted to engage you in a little exercise here that leads right into the pace car concept. Imagine yourself pulling out onto Main Street, which all of us have probably done many times. And you look both ways, no cars are coming, you pull out, you're driving along, and within less than a minute, someone comes up fast behind you and comes up close to you and is tailgating now. Someone's very impatient. They want to get by you, and they're a little upset because you're slowing them down. Or at least as a driver, I feel it puts me in a stressful situation when someone speeds up behind me and they're tailgating me. Have any of you had that experience? I think probably almost everyone has. So the question is then, what do you do? Do you speed up? Like, say you're going 40 miles an hour in a 35-mile zone. You're already going 5 miles over the speed limit. Do you speed up then to accommodate this person who's come up behind you? Or do you just hold your ground and say, okay, you've got to slow down now? And that's a tension we all experience. And it's not a pleasant experience. But the whole idea of the Pace Car program is to help each other and help everyone in the town think about this more and sort of agree together that we want to discourage speeding in our town. And so when something like that happens, we're not going to just give in to the speeder. We're going to be, in a sense, put a little brakes on the speed by holding that speed and sort of training, setting a good example and setting the tone of the town to a feeling that this town supports going the speed limit and we're not friendly to speeding. Well, we're not talking about enforcement here. We're just talking about setting an example. And I think that really captures the experience that we're talking about here with the Pace Car program. So the Pace Car program has a few steps. First of all, we have a pledge. We're going to ask people to consider adopting for themselves. It's a very simple thing. We have an example here from Northampton. I'll drive within the speed limit and obey all traffic regulations. I confess that I have often gone over the speed limit. In fact, a few years ago, it was a little uncomfortable for me to go less than 5 miles over the speed limit. You know, going under 40 on Main Street felt a little uncomfortable to me. Now it doesn't. Now I've kind of gotten used to it. I feel totally comfortable going 35. It took me a little while to get there. So we're going to go the speed limit and obey the traffic regulations. The second point is share the road safely with pedestrians and bicyclists. These people have every right to be on the road. And we need to be conscious of their right to be there and give them space if it's a bicyclist, and watch for pedestrians and so on. And by the way, pedestrians need to be educated too, because there's a lot of distracted pedestrians out there, but that's a separate issue, a separate challenge. You know, and take other methods of transportation when we can, whether it's walking or carpooling or using public transportation. That's the third thing. And then the fourth thing is each person who signs this pledge will get a little sticker to put in their back window where it won't obscure any view. It's not something that someone's going to read and understand unless they know the program. It'll just identify this current driver as someone who is with the program and give them a little badge, not like a police badge to do any enforcing. That's not the idea, but just a recognition that this is a pace car, and hopefully through our publicity, people will get to know what that means and what that's about. And so I mentioned the sticker, and then once we have this going, we have the opportunity to publicize it. You know, to put articles in the River East, to use our other channels of communication, to tell everyone in the town that this is going on. If you're upset about speeding, if you want to curb speeding, take the pledge, become a pace car driver, and set a positive example for other drivers. So through that publicity, really, that's where the change really begins, to get people to think about the fact that, wow, there are people here who are actually deliberately choosing and agreeing not to go fast just because it's a thing to do. We want to slow traffic down. We want it to be a safer town. And I think everyone's consciousness will rise as a result of this, just as my consciousness rose as a result of thinking about how fast I was going. The real goal here is just to make people more aware and think more about how they are driving and not just worried about how other people are driving. So that's really all we want to do here, and we hope that you actually, as selectmen of the town, will become a pace car driver, and we need some support from you too to get this going. The police department has agreed to have these stickers available, and to have the pledge forms available at the police department. And so that's it. It's very simple. Other communities have done this. It's becoming a nationwide thing, and that's it. And we appreciate this chance to explain it. And we look forward to any questions or comments you have about this. Thank you.
Is it a magnet or a sticker? Or is this it right here?
It will look something like that. It'll say Portland Pace Car. I think that says Northampton.
Oh, yeah.
It does say We're thinking stickers, right?
Yeah.
Versus a decal.
Yeah.
Yeah, something you just stick up in the inside of your back window.
I just want to say thank you. I will be taking the pledge, and thank you. You know, it's crazy to see those statistics, you know, and the rise, and I do think that maybe you know, during COVID, I think there was a lax sense of you know, oh, you can go a little faster these days, and I don't think that that's safe for anyone, and I think we need to make sure that our streets in Portland are safe for everyone. And so thank you for all the work that Complete Streets has done on this, and I look forward to taking the pledge.
Do other members of the board select such a program? I mean, support, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
As soon as the stickers are done, I
Fantastic.
think we're all in.
So we have a couple asks,
Yep.
if you support it. One, we will have a form. First we met with Captain Millardo and DPW Director Bob Shea, and they are both in support of the program. And Captain Millardo said he'd be willing for people to come to the police station to fill out the form, and his assistant Roseanne, you know, would administer that and give out a sticker. But also we would love to have it on the town website. So if people wanted to print out the form and mail it to the police department if they didn't, you know, weren't able to come, whatever. So that would be fantastic. We would support that. And secondly, we don't know what the cost of the stickers are going to be. We're thinking very nominal, probably under $200. But would the town be willing to pick up that cost for the stickers? I don't know if you need to talk about it and make a motion or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, what's the board think about?
Do you want us to put it on the agenda for next meeting?
Yeah, why don't we put it on, we'll put it on the agenda for our May 4th meeting.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
$200 covers it?
I've just done a brief estimate, but I think that would be plenty. I mean, I don't think we're talking hundreds of people. I would love hundreds of people to take the pledge, but I would think under $200 would be sufficient. Great. Well, I wanted to mention one other thing and just sort of plant a seed in your minds. I'm sure you're aware that the federal government passed a major infrastructure bill last year. We know that Connecticut will be receiving a large amount of money, probably unprecedented in recent years, and therefore towns and cities will be receiving money. So Complete Streets Group, we've been studying for years the needs in Portland, and we just wanted to highlight a couple of our recommendations when that money comes in. We have talked about it within our group. We voted, and the three top choices are, drum roll, to continue to improve and add sidewalks on Main Street. As you know, we've done a lot of work in that area for the past few years, and we feel residents have greatly benefited from improved sidewalks on Main Street. That was number one. Number two is Brownstone Avenue. Is it Avenue or Road? Avenue. The town has talked about redoing that road for years. It's in great need of repair. It's also in great need of becoming more bike and ped friendly. As you know, thousands of people come to that park, the Brownstone Exploration Park, every year. It's a very wide road, but frankly, we don't feel it's very safe or very aesthetically pleasing. That would be a big project, as I'm sure you know, but if the town is getting a lot of money, I hope that you'll consider that. And the third one is just to improve the biking infrastructure in our town. We would love to become a bike-friendly community, as some other towns near us are. For instance, Glastonbury. This would mean, bike lanes, more room for people to bike safely, whether it be narrowing travel lanes, actually having 5 feet to designate as a bike lane. So that was our third choice. So we hope that you'll keep those things in mind, and we'd love to come back to you and talk more about infrastructure when the time is right. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, well, thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate your support.
Thank you very much.
Kathy, thank you, John, thank you, Bob and Cynthia, for all coming out
Yeah,
tonight.
I would just like to add one point to that last point Kathy made. When she talks about the town getting money, this is money the town will be able to apply for.
Correct, yes.
And it'll be administered through the River Cog. Usually that's where the transportation infrastructure funds are handled or administered. And there's a very short window between when they announce a grant opportunity and when the applications are due. So, and I think the reason for that is they want to fund projects that towns are ready and have to do and have thought about. So that's why it's really important that we as a community, that you as selectmen and the Department of Public Works, think about what opportunities we would want to apply for and how much it would cost, so that when we have 6 weeks to turn in a grant application, we're not caught flat-footed and can't get it together. I know that is a challenge for communities, and it really behooves us to look ahead and anticipate these opportunities so we can take advantage of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. So I have nothing else under communications and correspondence, so we'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment? Nothing in the chat. All right. Then we'll move to old business, and so it is our second meeting of the month, which means it's our monthly report from the Committee on Solidarity, and April Graves is here, as well as PJ. Thank you both for coming.
All right. We actually just had our meeting last night. It was rescheduled this month due to school vacation. So first on the agenda was we actually have completed our banner designs for the banners on Main Street for Solidarity Month. I have them if anybody wants to see them, or if you want to look at them after, I don't know. There's
Yeah,
quite a
please.
few. And just so you know with that, that's not like a high-quality printer that they were printed out on, so they will be brighter, crisper, not pixelated when it actually is the banners. So that was our first thing, and then for Solidarity Month, we have 4 different activities planned. The first one is going to be a Disabilities Forum at the library on Wednesday, June 8th at 7 p.m. And that'll be local residents that deal with either unseen disabilities and how that affects them, and ways to, that the town can help. One particular thing was like the post office didn't used to have a ramp, and we were spoken to about how, with the addition of that, they were finally able to go into the post office. Other things are going to be parents with children with disabilities, how it affects them. It's just people telling their personal stories that live in our town. And then Saturday, June 11th, we're going to be a part of the library anniversary celebration, and we'll be there with our solidarity wall. So during the month of June with Solidarity Month, we're going to have a banner where people can write what solidarity means to them. And eventually, after Solidarity Month is over, that will then remain on display at the library. And then Saturday, June 18th is, of course, our Juneteenth festival. And we are good to go with everything for that. We have a DJ, bounce house, food being provided by Sarah's on Main. We have decorations, we have our speakers set to go, the town poet laureate, Najee, and then the high school chorus will be giving us a song. The only thing on that is just, we're still waiting on the budget approval so we can do down payments for all of that. And then Saturday, June 25th will be our Pride event from 12 to 2. And then we have speakers hopefully coming from Q+. A man named Tony from New Haven who does advocacy, and then Anchor Health out of Camden. And then that's everything for Solidarity Month. And then we have in October, after Solidarity Month's over, we'll start planning for October for First Responders Month. And we've already started working with Jesse from Youth Services about coordinating a police youth initiative, because that was something that had rated high on the community survey that we had done. So we started on that. And then lastly, I just want to thank Ryan. We were approached by a member of the community about recognizing Autism Awareness Month. So I reached out to Ryan, and then Ryan will be doing the proclamation tonight.
Thank you for that, April. Excellent suggestion.
So that is everything that I have.
You guys got a lot going on.
Very busy, yes.
Do you want the posters back, or can we?
You can keep them,
Okay.
Awesome, thank you.
yeah.
April, the first thing in June, what was it, Disabilities Forum?
Yeah.
Did you say where that was going to be held?
That's me at the library,
At the library.
and that's Wednesday, June 8th at 7 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
April, would you be able to email me the flags as well?
Yeah, actually, I have them, yeah.
Okay,
On
thank you.
PDF, I have them.
Oh, thank
So
you.
I can forward that to you.
Okay, great.
Anything else?
Thank you, April. The next item under old business is to set a special town meeting date for supplemental appropriation. This is on the system-wide Board of Education technology upgrades and increases to federal grants. This is what we just had a public hearing on earlier this evening, and now we need to set a special town meeting to vote on this appropriation. Is there a motion to approve of May 4th, 2022 at 7:20 p.m. for a special town meeting?
I make a motion to approve that.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. So the motion that's been made and seconded is for a special town meeting on May 4th, 2022 at 7:20 p.m. For a supplemental appropriation on system-wide Board of Education technology upgrades and increase to federal grants. So all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. Next up on the agenda is appointments and reappointments to boards and commissions. Are there any appointments this evening? Okay. And so we'll move on to new business then. So under new business, now that the Board of Selectmen has put forward their proposed budget, we have the adoption of the water and sewer budgets for the fiscal year 2022 to 2023 fiscal year. So would someone like to introduce and move the resolution?
I'll introduce and move it.
Thank you, John.
Resolution, Board of Selectmen, Town of Portland, Connecticut, dated April 20th, 2022. Adoption of the water and sewer budgets for 2022-2023 fiscal year. Resolved that the water and sewer budgets for the fiscal year 2022-2023, as outlined on the attached, in the amount of $1,733,771 in the water budget and $1,217,891 in the sewer budget, be and are hereby adopted.
Thank you, John.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ralph. Any discussion on this? Again, I just want to thank the Board of Selectmen for all of your work during the budget process, including this sewer department and also the water department. Thank you. There's no other discussion? All those in favor of adoption of the water and sewer budgets for fiscal year 2022 to 2023 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you all. The next item on our agenda this evening is something that I'm very excited about. This is something that we've been working on for since I took office, and even before, is our senior center has been working on a kitchen upgrades, and also now we've been able to increase that to add some HVAC upgrades as well as a generator for the Waverly Center. And so this is all being funded through a grant it's a Small Cities Community Development Block Grant, and it's from the Department of Housing. And so we've been working for quite some time on getting the funding for this, and it is quite a bit of money for the town of Portland, so this is a big win. It's up to $725,000 that we will be able to put towards the Waverly Center. And so in order to apply for the grant monies that have been awarded or promised to us, we do need to pass this resolution here tonight. So if someone would like to move and read this resolution, we can get one step closer to this grant. Anyone?
I'll take it if you want me to.
Thank you, John.
But then you guys gotta take the longer one. Resolution of Board of Selectmen, Town of Portland, Connecticut, dated April 20, 2022, Small Cities Program. Whereas federal monies are available under the Connecticut Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program administered by the State of Connecticut Department of Housing pursuant to Public Law 93-383 as amended, and whereas pursuant to Chapter 127C and Part 6, Roman numeral 6 of Chapter 130 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the Commissioner of Housing is authorized to disperse such federal monies to local municipalities, and whereas it is desirable and in the public interest that the Town of Portland make application to the state for $725,000 in order to undertake a Small Cities Community Development Program and to execute an assistance agreement, therefore should one be offered. Now therefore be it resolved by the Portland Board of Selectmen, 1, that it is cognizant of the conditions and prerequisites for state assistance imposed by Part 6 of Chapter 130 of the Connecticut General Statutes, and 2, that the filing of an application by the town of Portland in an amount not to exceed $725,000 is hereby approved, and that the town of Portland is hereby authorized and directed to file such application with the Commissioner of the Department of Housing to provide such additional information, to execute such other documents as may be required by the Commissioner, to execute an assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut for state financial assistance if such an agreement is offered, to execute any amendments, rescissions, and revisions thereto, and to act as the authorized representative of the town of Portland. You want the rest of it down the bottom,
Yeah, why don't you just read that too? Just-
Okay, there's a line, certified a true copy of a resolution adopted by the town of Portland at a meeting of its Board of Selectmen on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022, in which has not been rescinded or modified in any way whatsoever, and it would be signed by Michael Tierney, town clerk, and dated with the town seal.
All right, thank you, John. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Sean. Any discussion on this?
Ryan, just a quick thing. All right, so you mentioned kitchen, HVAC, and generator.
Mhm.
There's possibly more upgrades that could be done, like, or is that just examples of what can be
No,
done?
that's what, so this project started with COVID funding money that was available. And it started previously as some kitchen upgrades, and this was begun under First Selectwoman Susan Bransfield, and so what started as some small kitchen upgrades have now, more funds have become available to us. And with those funds, we have identified HVAC improvements that would help, especially, the thinking is that since this is COVID funding, that the senior center, you would want to make sure that the air is cleaned, and also the food for the food prep. This is designed so that it will supplement and help with meal delivery. And so the thinking is that seniors who are most vulnerable wouldn't have to come to the senior center. We would be able to prepare the meals and deliver the food. So this is all, and the generator would be in case of an emergency, and also to keep the food from spoiling should a power outage occur. So the grant has everything to do with COVID in mind, and so this is all to help our senior population as well. So all of that is funded.
So the sum of those three items that you just mentioned will cover the $750?
Correct. Yeah, we've had a lot of
7.5.
extensive work done, and that's why we did we've been working with Silver and Petroselli on all the engineering for this and the architecture work on this, and there's been a lot of work along the way in order to get here. And so this is, it's such a big win for the town of Portland, and so we haven't officially been awarded the grant yet, so we will celebrate when we do get the award, but right now it looks like we are on the right track to get this. Any other discussion?
No, it's a great opportunity.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the resolution of the Small Cities Program? All those in favor of approving the Small Cities Program signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
For the record, I wasn't gonna read it again.
Yeah, you're off the hook for next time, right? I think somebody else is gonna, because there's some bigger ones here. So the next item on tonight's agenda, and actually this is a long agreement. This is an agreement that came before the town of Portland that our town attorney has been working on along with the property owners. It's JCG Properties LLC, and you may know this is the property of Portland Vet, and that those three parcels there. And I'm just going to read this agreement. I'll read this, and I'll take this off while I read it because it's long. And I think that the easiest way for everyone to understand the agreement is for me to read it. So this is an agreement between JCG Properties LLC of Portland, Connecticut, hereinafter referred to as the owner, and the town of Portland, hereinafter referred to as the town, acting herein through its first selectman by authority of the town of Portland Board of Selectmen, acting as the Water Pollution Control Authority, on authority existing pursuant to the laws of the state of Connecticut, having jurisdiction over sanitary sewers within the corporate boundaries of Portland, Connecticut, hereinafter referred to as WPCA. Recitals. Whereas the owner owns real property consisting of 3 contiguous lots, 2 of which are commercial lots located at 455 Portland Cobalt Road, Portland, Connecticut, identified as parcel ID 012-0031, alternate ID map block lot number 00029900, card number 1, lot 1, and parcel ID 012-0031, alternate ID map block lot number 00029900, card number 2, lot 2, and the third of which is a vacant lot located immediately west of lot 1 and lot 2 at 455 Portland Cobalt Road, Portland, Connecticut, identified as parcel ID 012-00234, alternate ID map block lot number 00030000, lot 3, hereinafter referred to collectively as the property. And whereas the owner currently operates the Portland Veterinary Hospital in building the hospital on lot 2, and whereas although lot 1 is also owned by the owner, it is and or was occupied by a building which is closed restaurant, which is a closed restaurant, otherwise known as the restaurant. And whereas the owner intends to expand the hospital onto lot 2 and possibly onto lot 3, hereinafter the hospital expansion. And whereas the property is served by an on-site private septic system, and whereas there are inadequate native soils on the property to accommodate the construction of a new code-compliant on-site septic system, and whereas the owner has requested that the WPCA install a municipal sanitary sewer to service the property, and whereas the WPCA has insufficient funds available to it for use in installing a municipal sanitary sewer line to service the property, and whereas owner has proposed to install a sanitary sewer force main at owner's cost as a private project, hereinafter referred to interchangeably as the required sewer work or the force main, from at least 2 feet inside of the property line for lot 2, the termination point, continuing along Marlborough Street, aka State of Connecticut Route 66, aka State of Connecticut Route 17, aka Marlborough Street, aka Portland Cobalt Road. The state highway, or Portland Cobalt Road, to an existing town-owned manhole. The manhole on Grove Street, located at the point where Grove Street intersects with the state highway, all of which is located in Portland, Connecticut. And whereas, in order to complete the required sewer work, the town shall take ownership of the force main for the purpose of securing the state permit, as described below, and subject to the town's conveyance to the owner of an easement in the force main that shall be recorded on the town of Portland's land records, the easement. Whereas, subject to the terms and conditions set forth herein and pursuant to the easement, the owner shall bear the responsibility of maintaining and repairing the force main in connection with its future use and operation of the force main. And whereas, in consideration of the town agreeing to take ownership of the force main, prior to commencing any construction of the force main, owner has filed the necessary documents upon the land records of the town of Portland to merge lots 1, 2, and 3 into one parcel of property, which documents are identified as the quitclaim deed recorded in volume 1057, page 280 of the Portland Land Records, and the notice of merger of parcels and waiver and relinquishment of rights recorded at volume 1057, page 284 of the Portland Land Records. And whereas owner presently contemplates that the cost of completing the required work, inclusive of engineering fees and legal fees, will be approximately, and I guess there is no dollar here, dollars, and whereas owner is willing, subject to terms of this agreement, to pay entirely the cost of completing said required work. And whereas by letter dated blank, the WPCA, acting through the Public Works Director of the Town of Portland, has approved the engineering plans, hereinafter referred to as the approved plans, prepared by owner's engineering company, hereinafter referred to owner's engineers for installation of the force main. And whereas the WPCA is supportive of the efforts of the owner to install the force main, now therefore, in consideration of the foregoing recitals and the mutual obligations and undertakings hereinafter set forth, the parties agree as follows. 1. Subject to the terms and conditions set forth herein, owner shall, at its own cost and expense, install as a private undertaking the force main, which shall be owned by the town when completed, and which shall run from the termination point continuing along the state highway to the manhole on Grove Street, located at the point where Grove Street intersects with the state highway, all of which is located in Portland, Connecticut, in accordance with the approved plans prepared by owner's engineers. 2. Prior to commencement of the required sewer work, the town shall obtain the permit from the state of Connecticut, the state permit, which is necessary to perform the required sewer work within the state highway. 3. Prior to the installation of the force main, owner shall have owner's engineers obtain at least 2 bids for the required sewer work based on the approved plans, which bids shall include the cost of materials and labor necessary to complete the required sewer work. 4. Upon receipt of all such bids, owner shall report to the WPCA through the Public Works Director of the Town of Portland the names of each bidder and the amount of each such bid received, together with the names of the proposed company selected by owner to undertake and complete the required sewer work. 5. Upon receipt by owner of the bids from contractors for the installation of the required sewer work, owner shall deliver to the WPCA through the Public Works Director of the Town of Portland a report setting forth the total cost of the required sewer work, force main cost, which shall include the amount of the successful bid and legal and engineering fees incurred or to be incurred by owner with respect to the required sewer work. 6. Upon approval by the WPCA of the force main costs and company selected by owner to undertake and complete the required sewer work, and upon the town obtaining the state permit to perform the required sewer work, owner shall have the successful bidder that is approved by the town commence construction of the required sewer work. 7. Upon completion of the required sewer work, the owner shall obtain fully executed original mechanics lien waivers for all work, including but not limited to engineering and construction work on the required sewer work, and shall submit the same to the WPCA through the Public Works Director of the Town of Portland for approval. 8. Thereafter, the WPCA and/or the town shall formally accept the force main and become the owners thereof, and after the acceptance thereof, the WPCA and/or the town shall convey the easement to the owner. The easement shall be recorded on the Town of Portland's land records, subject to the terms and conditions herein, and as further provided in the easement, the owner shall have the right to use and operate the force main, but the owner shall be responsible for the maintenance and repair of the force main or any appurtenance thereto. Furthermore, the owner shall have the sole liability for and shall hold the town harmless for any claims arising of the use and operation of the force main or any appurtenance thereto. 9. After the required sewer work is completed and all conditions set forth in paragraphs 1 through 8 of this agreement are satisfied, the owner shall be permitted to commence the hospital expansion. At no point shall the owner commence the hospital expansion prior to completing the required sewer work. During the course of construction of the required sewer work, owner shall carry public liability and property damage insurance in such amounts as are reasonably required by the WPCA and/or the town, which insurance shall name the WPCA and the town as additional insured parties. 10, owner shall require that the required sewer work contractor and all subcontractors carry appropriate public liability, property damage, and workers' compensation insurance coverage, which insurance shall name owner, the WPCA, and the town as additional insured parties. 11, the WPCA shall treat the owner as a developer with respect to the required sewer work and any connection fees payable by owner for the connection of the property to the force main shall be charged by the WPCA at the rate chargeable to a private developer, which is blank dollars. 12, if the force main fails to work properly in the future or requires additional repairs, owner shall be responsible for such repair work. The repair work and shall engage any and all necessary contractors to perform the repair work as soon as possible. In the event that the owner's contractors fail to perform the repair work in a timely manner, or if an emergency work is necessary, the WPCA reserves the right to obtain any and all bids that are necessary for the repair work or emergency work, and or may engage the contractors of its choosing to perform the repair work or emergency work as needed. If the WPCA's contractor performs the repair work or emergency work and the owner fails to reimburse the town within 60 days of an invoice, therefore the WPCA reserves the right to place a lien on the property in favor of the town in the amount of all costs incurred for such work, together with all applicable statutory interest. Lien shall be recorded on the land records. 13, until such time as the WPCA has approved the force main costs, owner shall have the right to terminate this agreement, in which case owner shall have no obligation to construct or install the force main. In the event that the owner terminates this agreement as set forth in this paragraph, however, at no point will the owner be permitted to commence the hospital expansion unless and until all alternative agreement is reached between the parties with respect to the required sewer work. 14, in the event the cost to owner to install the force main is increased after the approval of the force main costs by the WPCA because of matters unforeseen by the required sewer work contractor or matters not within the original scope of the required sewer work contractor's bid, upon approval of the WPCA acting through the Public Works Director of the Town of Portland, the force main cost shall be increased to include any additional expenses, including additional legal and engineering fees incurred by owner. 15, this agreement shall not be assigned without the prior written consent of the WPCA and/or the Town of Portland. 16, in the performance of this agreement or the construction of the required sewer work, discrimination shall not be permitted by or against any person because of race, color, religious creed, age, sex, marital status, national origin, ancestry, gender identity or expression, statuses of veteran, intellectual disability, mental disability, or physical disability in any manner prohibited by the laws of the United States, the state of Connecticut, and the town of Portland. 17, if any provisions of this agreement shall be held to be invalid for any reason, the remaining provisions of this agreement shall not be affected by such determination and shall remain in full force and effect. 18, this agreement sets forth the entire understanding of the parties with respect to the matters herein, and it may not be changed except by a written document signed by the parties hereto. 19, this agreement in all respects shall be construed and enforced under the laws of the state of Connecticut. 20, this agreement may be executed in any number of counterparts, each of which shall be deemed an original, but all of which together shall constitute one and the same instrument. 21, this agreement shall be binding upon and inure to the benefit of the respective parties hereto and their respective successors, legal representatives, and assigns. Signature page to follow. In witness thereof, The parties hereto have hereunto affixed or caused to be affixed their respective hands, names, and seals this blank day of April 2022, Town of Portland by Ryan Curley, its first selectman, duly authorized, and also will be signed owner JCG Properties by Christine LLC by Christine Gustafson, its member, and then it's dated and notarized as well. And that is the agreement before us. So, does anyone have any questions on that?
I think I understand the backstory on this, and I know it's been going on for quite a while. And I know we've been trying to help the vet's office work with that property. Can you just give a little, is there any backstory as to, I'll tell you my understanding. The piece of land, as I understand it, is fill from years and years and years and years ago, which doesn't allow a septic to be on that property. And therefore, the town is willing to assist them in making the sewer connection, and essentially that's what we're trying to do here, so that they can develop those parcels, correct?
Yes, so you are right that the problem with the property now is that because it's fill, they could not, the vet, Portland vet could not install the septic, and because of that, have been looking for a way to tie into the sewer line. Now, unfortunately for the town of Portland, Portland Vet is still moving. They are in the process of building a facility. I believe it's in Cobalt that is being built right now. And so what this is no financial obligation to the town of Portland. It's that in order to service and hook up to the system, the town of Portland needs to take ownership to get the permitting from the state of Connecticut. And so what this agreement is saying is that JCG Properties will be paying for and maintaining and the term is, and I want to use the correct term, it's a force main. And so that's what's being built, is a force main. And
But then what I don't understand is on page 1, the third whereas, the owner intends to expand the hospital
Correct.
onto lot 2 and 3, but if they're building another facility, what are we doing this for?
we are doing this because the owner potentially would like to do this, and they, I believe, would like to sell the property ultimately. And so the property would not be worth much without the ability to tie into sewer. So I believe that they are using this, they're willing to put the money in to tie into the sewer in order to one day be able to sell the property. And it is unfortunate, Portland Vet has been here for many years, and we don't like to see any business in town leave, especially one that's helped so many people. And so I believe that this agreement has been being worked on for a while now. And so I think that this was an option that they had before them, and that they ultimately decided to go a different route with their veterinary services. And so they still have this property, and in order for it to be marketable down the road, and who knows what they might do with it down the road either, but that's what this is. So it's the town of Portland saying that we will take this property, we will take this sewer, this force pump, but they being JCG Properties are paying for the installation and all costs and all maintenance and everything that goes along with that. So this has been, as you can see from the reading, this has been thoroughly reviewed by our town attorneys and their attorneys, and this agreement is what both parties have come up with. And I do think it is beneficial to the town of Portland to have a property that becomes more attractive and just does not sit for a number of years undeveloped or, untapped. So I think that this is ultimately good for both parties, and there is no cost to the town to enter this agreement. So certainly I will say, I really wish, that to your point, John, that third whereas was correct in that the hospital, and I did check on that when I read this originally. That was my first question. I said, oh, maybe Portland Vet has changed their mind and maybe they decided to stay, but our attorneys confirmed that is not the case, unfortunately. But this agreement is still something that I believe is mutually beneficial to both parties. So that's why I brought it before the Board of Selectmen this evening.
So what is the intent then? Because obviously there's a lot of blanks in here that are, where there's real numbers that you would want to get a sense of. Where do we go from here, from this agreement to what we do with the agreement?
Well, the agreement and the blanks that you're referring to are the costs. So one of the, number 11 is the WPCA shall treat the owner as a developer. The WPCA is us. And with respect to the required sewer work and any connection fees payable by owner, being JCG Properties, for the connection of the property to the force main shall be changed by the WPCA at the rate chargeable to a private developer, which is, and I believe we just need to plug that number in. So anything that's blank is just the town would be inserting the number, but it's not. Again, there is nothing in this that puts the town out any dollars, and all we are doing is taking ownership of the force main because only the town of Portland can get the permitting done from the state of Connecticut, is my understanding.
So in the future, if the property is sold, the new owner is still responsible?
Correct, yeah, so this would carry convey over, exactly, yes. So, and again, if they were to, if something were to happen to this pump and the town of Portland was forced to spend money on it, we have the ability to lien the property and to recoup our expenditures that way as well. So, and that's why I wanted to make sure that I read the full document, because it really, in my opinion, covers most and if all situations that could occur with this. So, I mean, if the board would like to, put this on hold for next time, we can do that. But this would be authorizing me to sign this agreement with JCG Properties LLC. So,
do they have an idea when they want to do this?
I do not know when. And I don't know, and I'll be honest, I don't know if this will actually happen or not. I think that this may be a way for them to market the property.
Well, I know right now, because I talked to my realtor on that property, and there's not even a listing, a number on it, because of this issue. And they're trying to get some bids to come in. Because it's a known, you can't do anything between the septic and then you have a well on there, so this will help it out, because now you get the sewer in there and then you can place your well within 25 feet as opposed to 75 feet, so there's more to do with the property, and it's a good location to have developed it.
Is that city water?
Yes, city water is there.
Is there city?
It comes across underneath the F40.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
From
that's right.
Connecticut Cares.
There's just no hydrant.
Yes.
No sewer.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it seems like a smart move, so I don't care. I'll go whatever we want to do. I'd be
Why not?
fine with it today.
It seems smart because it's at no cost and no liability to the
Right.
town.
That's what I said when I read it, and I gotta be honest, when our attorney sent this a couple weeks ago, I didn't, this is something that I hadn't even heard of that was being worked on, and it came to me and I said, okay, this is, this has been in the works for a while. This is not something that.
Well, that's why when I caught that line on the first page, I thought, all right, they're building and they're
Yeah,
staying.
I thought too, but,
Yeah.
but either way, it still makes it an attractive piece of property, so.
Right now, it's unsellable.
Mhm.
So let's do it.
Unless you want to.
Let's go ahead with it.
What you have.
So
Need a motion?
I would, yeah, entertain a motion to approve the agreement as presented tonight.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this agreement between JCG Properties and the town of Portland, as read by Ryan.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And authorizes Ryan to sign the agreement on
And
behalf of the town.
authorizes Ryan to sign the agreement pursuant to this agreement.
I'll still second it.
All right, any more discussion on this? I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the agreement between JCG Properties LLC and the town of Portland and authorizing the first selectman to enter into this agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you all. All right.
And I thought I had read a couple long ones, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about you during that reading. I said, "Oh, John got
I
off
bow
easy."
to you.
Did you want a 5-minute break till?
No, I'm good. I don't want to keep our next, and the next item on the agenda is discussion and potential action, item D under new business, on the fixed assessment application for Global 17 LLC, 529 Glastonbury Turnpike. And thank you to Rich Lasky, our town assessor, is here with us this evening to go over this authorization or this assessment. So Rich, yeah, would you like to come up to the podium?
Sure.
All right. So, how you guys doing tonight?
How are you?
Long day. All right, this was I guess the application came in last October. And, you know, I had to put it aside because we're in the middle of the revow. So I wouldn't be able to have any, you know, calculations or estimate for numbers until we obviously conclude the revow, you know, which we got through that all right. And so now we've got numbers we can work with, you know, we're getting closer to the budget numbers too as well. So, you know, the mill rate's always helpful too when you're trying to calculate, you know, upcoming tax breaks or whatever, you know, in these kind of situations here. The first thing about this one that was kind of, I guess the one thing about this the fixed assessment agreement here is, I was always under the impression that it was more for proposed, you know, businesses or proposed construction in town from commercial, you know, so it's almost like an estimate you're going to kind of try to figure in that, you know, for economic development and that kind of stuff that, you know, comes into town. That's always, I always thought was the intent of this program. So when, you know, on this particular property, there was 3 phases that were submitted with the building plans originally. So phase 1 and 2 were completed back in 2018. Then, you know, he gave us the new application in October, and I assuming it was phase 3, you know, that project there, which is essentially that building. So as we kind of dug into it a little bit, I realized, oh, wait a second, he's applying for the abatement on the actual existing buildings already. So that's one thing to take into consideration on the approval on this actual, you know, on this application, whether we're going to approve it or not, or you guys, you know, will say. On my end, I just kind of took the information I had on hand, which was usually in the past when, you know, I was to basically submit an estimate of taxes or future tax on these fixed assessment agreements, you know, it comes to me and I would say, okay, well, looks like, you know, on the proposed construction cost of the project, they'll meet the criteria of subsection A, B, or C, or whatever it is, and if that entitles them to whatever it is. Usually the subsection C is the easiest because it blatantly says 50% for 3 years, I think, you know, and that's obviously up to you guys' decision too if you want to change those numbers. I think they kind of give you a lot of wiggle room, you know, with this option here. But usually I take that as a starting point and say, okay, well, if it was to choose, subsection C, we'll say, 3 years at 50% of the approved building costs, this is what the estimate taxes would be opposed to, if approved, if not approved. So that's basically my breakdown on my summary sheet. I think on page 2 there is all about there, so there's a couple things on it I just wanted to, discuss with you guys, and this one in particular, we'll say, so.
So, am I reading this right? It was built in 2018,
Yeah, the buildings that I guess are involved in this, the application they submitted in October are based upon the, there's 2 buildings there on the site that the Glastonbury Turnpike,
Across from Jarvis, right?
Right, yeah, I know where they are.
Yeah,
And
you
we got the COs for these buildings in 2018 also?
No, the COs did not come out until 2021.
So these, he didn't lease any of this space or anything?
The space was leased back in 18, so,
And he didn't get a CO until
yeah. so-
October 21?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not sure what the, logistics of the actual CO kind of, I don't get involved with the legalities of that kind of side of it, but I know that as of the October 18 grand was, October 1st, October 8th, there was the buildings in operation. They were completed, whether they were fully leased or not, I don't think they were. I know we had 1 or 2 tenants when I was out there doing my final inspection around that time, for the grand list that year. And I put a number, started putting up some numbers on that property for the, appraisal values on that. So, it's like, I remember, like, I worked with the women back and forth a little bit, and, I've been at the site a couple times, and I know the smaller of the 2 buildings is basically a self-storage facility that I think he rents out to, units for industrial storage kind of thing, because they're big units, it's not too bad, kind of a building there. The other one is more or less in tune to actual attracting business in town, where it's like a commercial condo kind of situation. I don't know if they're condos, but they're commercial office retail use, whatever it is, they have in there. And he's got some, I think 5 or 6 actual businesses he brought in there, which is good, for that aspect. So he's definitely eligible for bringing the business in town under the program, which is, great, Same time, I'm not sure if the timeline doesn't really match up to really how we're used to usually, going through these and looking at this kind of.
Do you think they waited to get the CO before applying for this? Is that why they waited?
I don't know really, it was a thing where I don't know the logistics behind it, I was kind of hoping there would be a little more information on the application itself too, because I kind of had to, go with what I had on record with the building department, as far as those estimated construction costs, everything else to kind of determine what category he would fall in. It was very vague for his application. Kind of one thing in the probably future I would like to do is maybe we can work together, reformat this application so we can get some more information up front, so these kind of things aren't so questionable to get the end too,
I think the fixed assessment process in general is something that the Board of Selectmen should probably take another look at. I know that this was originally created in 2012, and so it's been 10 years. I think that there's room for improvement and less ambiguity on this, so that you can do your job easier when these applications come forward.
Yeah, it was kind of thing for me. It was like I was I didn't realize he was talking about the existing buildings, when I spent time, doing the phase 3 of it, type of thing. That's what I thought this was applying for, if it was phase 3, I guess what we're perfect timeline, because he hasn't started that project yet, and we can definitely, I was able to estimate a, good appraisal number for about what that would be for the, the addition on that existing building, we'll say, and that could be applicable for it, definitely,
So it's not, because I do remember other businesses that applied for this, that were built and then they applied.
Okay, yeah.
So I can think of other ones. Certainly, 2018 was, not, I can't think of one that was 4 years ago, 4 years old.
Yeah, the other ones, usually what happens is, we'll say, like in this situation, he builds the building, and then he expands to it. And then you can get the, then they'll come to me and say, hey, listen, what am I looking for an estimate of tax, or what can the town do on a fixed assessment breakdown? if I was to do X, Y, and Z to my existing property. And if it falls within the statute, you know, I'll make a quick estimate, even through email, you know, directly to the owner. I've done that before, you know, just go, hey, you're looking about this, you know, and then they'll pursue, you know, do it officially to the town, you know, means, but other than that, you know, that's basically a couple things.
Those are the types of the ones I remember as well. There might
Yeah.
have been one that was more like this, but to be honest with you, I don't wanna guess what it was. I can't remember what.
Remember the one, the 3-unit place right next to Subway on Route 66?
Yeah, I know we did that one, but
Came
that,
down,
again,
that
that
had to be
was.
4 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, I remember that. I think that one was CO'd about a year after the fact, and I think that was something that we discussed
And
too,
they
as
just,
far
they
as.
just filled the space in there.
Yeah, he didn't have any, units, you know, basically he didn't have it, leased yet
Yeah,
at that point in time.
at the
so-
time he did, yeah, I remember that.
I remember that one, and I think with Chris, maybe with Chris Cody, there was one that we had done as well.
It was a minor one, yeah.
I think that was when you guys, after his addition, I think you did something for him.
That was the addition one, I believe. It was
Yeah.
already existing
Yeah.
building. I'm not sure if they got the initial, they
They
got the
did,
initial building.
the initial
Did
building
they?
as well.
I might have not been there for that one, but I remember applying it to
Yeah.
the one, the expansion of that building there, you know, a couple years ago on that, so.
So this one's definitely farther down the road.
Yeah, you know, so it's really, you know, I'll give you guys the numbers as whatever you need as far as any kind of proposals you guys might think is fair, what we want to do is on that end of it, you know, but, you know, I think in general it's kind of a, tricky kind of one to substantiate on that, you know, so.
Does he have any, do you know, does he have any more buildings going up in that development that he's?
I'm not sure what the last, I've heard of that, you know, because I was thinking that phase 3 was gonna kind of come down the road any minute now, and unless I heard it, I don't think he's gonna be doing it, so, you know. But that's something where I haven't talked to him directly too, 'cause usually I, have more communication, you know, I know we have another one for the golf course up the road, which I've been back and forth with them the last couple of weeks on that, so. I haven't really, really directly reached out to, Wayne yet, but you know, if you guys want me to find out what's really going on with it, I can talk to him. I have no problem doing that, you know.
Yeah, with phase 3 you're referring to?
Yeah. So I don't know what the story on that one is, but.
I did speak with Wayne recently on another matter, and he did say that I believe he was tabling that phase 3 for now.
Okay, yeah, that's probably what I've been hearing for the grapevine too, I think.
So, I guess it's totally up to the Board of Selectmen on this. This is something that does meet the regulations that the board has adopted. Is that correct, Rich?
Yeah, you know, if we're looking at the, aspect of bringing the new business in the town, I'd say, yeah, definitely, you know, it meets that criteria of it. It's commercial use and, you know, those kind of things, so. And we can work off, you know, obviously we've got the numbers now, we'll work off it, so. That's what my page 2 is kind of explains there, you know, the numbers at the end there.
And that's to cover both buildings, right? That assessment?
Yeah,
is to
that's on
cover-
both buildings, if the, you know, that's another thing too, it's the technicality, I mean, you can really, you know, the way it's written out, it's, you know, I think is directly right from what's in the Connecticut statutes, you know, and we adopted it, like word for word, so it's very, very vague on that where, you know, it's for commercial use, but, you know, or not resident, but we'll say like more of a, I don't know, self-storage, I mean, does that count as well, you know?
It's commercial, you're not building
Yeah,
residential,
Mhm. So, I mean, that's something too, we can take out that number, or that building number out if we needed to, you know, or if we needed a new calculation, I can.
And this is 3 years? This would be?
This would be 3 years into that subsection C. Now, obviously, we could see our final cost is, the final cost of 2 buildings is probably about, you know, 1.2 million right now, you know, now that's, or that's the value, we'll say, what we put on for the revaluation. The, as far as the, you know, actual costs, you know, they'll let us know the construction costs right up front. So I was able to come about $455 for both of them, but that's just brick and mortar cost, that's all that is. It doesn't include any other kind of labor or anything else like that, because we don't have that with the building department, so that's something that, you know, if we needed to get, I'd usually reach out to the actual, you know, of the applicant itself, for that kind of stuff. To find out where they fall, so.
Just a question, maybe I didn't hear the answer. It says in there per court ordered stipulation.
Yeah,
What does that refer to?
that means, he went to, he went to the Board of Assessment Appeals, appealed the value, you know, the initial value on it. And then, after the board made their decision, I'm trying to think if they reduced, I think they reduced it down some too, a little bit too as well. There was another adjustment in there. And that was probably per my review too. When I went out there, we kind of said, okay, well, based on X, Y, and Z, this looks good right here. He has 60 days to appeal with the, you know, with the court, and that's so we had to go to court on that. And I think from there, I think I settled under pretrial with the stipulated value with him. Kind of just said, okay, well, you're here, I'm here. And that was when I was going back and forth with the site to say, okay, what's your rent? What kind of rent are you getting? I think we just decided on that based on what market rent and vacancy at the time. So that's why there was another value stipulated that was kind of lower than probably, you know, arguably could be, could not be, whatever it is, you know. But, so.
So ultimately, looking at it, so what this is suggesting, if I understand right, is that he's looking for a $12,600 reduction for whatever number of years that we were, up to
Yeah,
3
we're-
that we would say.
Yeah, basically when it boils down to it, that's kind of how this kind of falls into place with what's on the table with this actual application. So.
And you've spoken to him too, and the primary reason he's asking for this is because of,
I mean, just to,
He can.
because,
Yeah.
well, I assume so, but
Something
is
that-
there a
yeah.
business? I only ask that because I know when the other property came here, the owner presented to the board that here's the issue I have,
Mhm.
here's the business reason I built the property, I didn't get the dispensary, it's a burden to me or whatever, so there was an explanation. So I remember the vote, and that was a lot easier to say yes to.
yeah,
And so, do you know what his compelling reason is on this one?
yeah, that I don't, and.
I know he can,
Yeah.
it's allowed, but I didn't know,
Mhm.
does that mean that any other business in town can ask for the same thing for theirs?
Yeah, that's
Like
basically the way
That's
it's,
the way it's written.
Right.
yeah.
So-
That's the reason why I think we should probably be looking at some of these kind of things, or at least, you know, make the application process a little, you know, just a little more in depth. That way, you know, it's more cut and dry, you know?
It just seems like a slippery slope,
Yeah.
you know, kind of thing.
Well, the purpose of the fixed assessment was economic development.
Right.
It was to encourage businesses to build in Portland. So, and if they put money and they invest their time and resources in the town of Portland for a certain amount of time, they would see relief on that improved value of what they put in. And, which is, you know, what is behind what's been going on with Brainerd Place,
Right.
as well as many other businesses in town. So it does meet the qualifications, but it also is a little late, I think. I
Well,
don't know.
the one thing I will say is, it's not just him trying to get the money back from it. He already has another, thing before planning and zoning.
Mhm.
He's building another building, he's bought another property. He owns multiple properties in town with future development on it.
Right, I mean,
He's investing his money.
Yeah.
right, he's got the property on the end of Freestone, which I'm sure he's paying quite a few tax dollars on that.
That's where
I'm
he's.
I'm not opposed to granting him this, I'm just, like everyone else, we're looking at. And I don't think it's, you know, his fault that he's coming to us 4 years later or whatever it is. I think it's something, like Ryan said, we have to work on the whole process. And that's something I think we should look at, so it's a little more, a little easier for you to get information on the application, and it's a little more cut and dry, black and white with what we're gonna do in the future.
It sounds like it would help you if we clarified this whole.
Yeah, those little things right there, you know, because like I said, I really don't want to have any part of the decision of the
Right.
process of it, but I would, you know, I have no problem saying, well, you know, this is what this is what they're submitting, and it looks like they're good under the thing.
Well, it's hard to question stuff when the whole assessment is, or the fixed real estate property assessment is a page and a half.
Mhm.
It doesn't give a lot of guidelines and stipulations and timeframes or anything.
Exactly, yeah.
It's, like you said, it comes from a state statute, which is vague,
Mhm.
and they're vague on purpose.
Yeah, yep, yeah. The, when I worked for the town of Monroe, we actually went through a whole, you know, abatement process too for the commercials, and, you know, it was pretty detailed. I might get a hold of that and take a look at that again, because I remember that addressed a lot of these kind of issues where there was a timeline, you know, involved with this, and if, you know, something where if there was any delays in the construction, or, you know, like a situation like with the Brainerd Place, you know, where originally it was approved, but it didn't start right away, you know, and so now we're, you know, 3 years away from the original. I think they modified it now, you know, but it gave that wiggle room with those kind of things right there in the actual statute or the actual policy, you know. So,
I have a suggestion. So this might be a great example of, and probably should relook at it, maybe set up a work group and do something on it quickly. I don't know if we delay this, to put this on the next meeting.
I don't think I think that whatever we do is gonna require some time to, you know, I don't wanna rush through
Right.
something just to, you know, I think we should spend some time
Absolutely.
to
And get it
look at
right.
it. Yeah,
But in
I
the
just,
meantime,
you know,
what do you want to do with this?
Well,
So you said there's another application in right now, so this one and another one?
no, he doesn't have another one.
No, no,
Well,
I'm talking with Corey
There's
Ridge.
there's another one from another.
I say we could almost like grandfather those two applications that are submitted, like Mike said, and Sean and Bobby, then we can work on, you know, reevaluating the whole abatement thing.
It's hard when he comes to you and asks for this, when he's following our
Right.
guideline to
Right.
do it, and then us saying, wait, we don't like that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm doing what you
That,
said I can do.
that's one thing where, yeah, that's, I'm scratching my head, I'm like,
Right.
okay, you know, I
Yeah,
do
I
agree
get
with
that.
that aspect of
I
it.
mean,
It's a,
that's hard for me to say to somebody.
Right.
Well, I don't wanna grant that to you. Well, I met your
Followed your guide,
requirements,
right.
exactly what
I
there
get
is.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm
I
definitely
think
on
Mike
board
was
with
right.
grandfathering him in, but I want to do the same with Corey Ridge if
Right.
they've already submitted.
Yeah.
their situation's a little bit different because they actually have, improvements they're still gonna give to the property. They have, you know, cause they renovated the clubhouse or the, you know, the house there during a revaluation, year, I guess, and I don't know if the, revaluation picked up, you know, they still kinda had a value as the building was before. So, it was more of a renovation, but they are putting a pretty substantial, I guess, patio in it, which may,
Yeah.
you know, obviously change your assessment when I get out there. Actually, they haven't started digging down it yet, but, I know there's plans that I can definitely review.
They have a plan before planning is on. as well.
Exactly, yeah, so for that
To
reason.
expand their business and have different events there.
Exactly, yeah, and so for that reason, yeah, there's a little easier because we're so proposed, so proposal, and I can definitely come up with an estimate. And we can make a determination, you know, before, you know, it really starts getting on the tax rolls, we'll say, you know.
Yeah.
No, that's why that one's a little bit different than this one, that's all, but.
Yeah, and to the point is, the other example, like that 3-bay building, he came through with, this is why this occurred and why I'm looking for it. And this one may have a legitimate reason, it's just, it's not a requirement as part of our documentation to give us that reason. But, you know, again, he put it in based on the
Yeah.
criteria, and he's,
Well, Brainerd Place is the same thing. They don't have hardship, but they're investing so much money they fall into the 7-year category.
I think their hardship, if I remember correctly, was the historic buildings is where that came from.
And COVID on top of it.
And COVID.
I think a lot of the theory behind this, you know, even from the state level is, you know, business will tend to take a few years to really get on their feet. So, you know, usually the first couple of years of a business is usually a wash, you know, so it gives them that little break so they can reinvest it into the business or, you know, get them through. And that's probably what the general intent with this program has always been, as far as I look at it as, you know, so.
Which way, I mean, should someone introduce
yeah,
the resolution then?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, I'll introduce the resolution. Resolution, Board of Selectmen, Town of Portland, Connecticut, April 20th, 2022. Resolution authorizing the fixing of real property assessments. whereas the town has an existing policy to encourage the growth and expansion of commercial and industrial parcels while allowing for the fixing of real property assessments where proposed development meets the requirements of CGS Section 12-65B, and whereas Global 17 LLC developed the parcel of 529 Glastonbury Turnpike, map 83, lot 0038-2, the property, for mixed-use office retail, tenant space, self-storage building, and whereas it is in the town's best interest and is consistent with the economic development policies and its policy on fixing real property assessments policy, in particular to encourage this proposed development, and whereas Wayne Rand, member of LLC Property, has submitted an application to the town dated October 21st, 2021 to fix its real property assessment for the continued development of the property in accordance with CGS Section 12-65B and the town's policy. The application, and whereas town staff has reviewed the application and confirmed that it appears to meet the eligibility requirements for a fixed tax assessment as set forth in the general statutes and the town's policy. Now therefore be it resolved, after due consideration and review, the town of Portland hereby approves the application and authorizes the first selectman to execute a tax assessment fixing agreement for the purpose of fixing the real property tax assessment on the property in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in CGS 12-65B and the town's policy.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Bobby? Bobby seconded. So discussion on this. Continue.
I agree. I mean, given the situation there, it's difficult for us to say we would not accept this, but I think we should be, you know, more proactive in looking at, and maybe, you know, the one that you saw in Monroe, that, you know, that might give us some examples of places we could firm it up.
Yeah. I will say I did reach out to CCM and I asked, there's a research component that towns can utilize, and I asked them if they could reach out to towns similar to ours and get their fixed assessment agreements. So they were able to get back to me. I do have a collection of some that I can share with the Board of Selectmen. And so this is something that certainly I think is in need of a refresher, and so we can do that. But I do want to say, and just out of curiosity, I don't know if any of the selectmen know, or Rich, has the Board of Selectmen ever denied one of these applications that meets the criteria?
I don't remember.
Not that I'm aware of, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's, and I can't think of one either. That's their policy, so.
I mean, I think even the discussions were much simpler, well, with the exception of Elmcrest. That was obviously a longer discussion and multiple meetings, but the other ones were one meeting discussions where you had the criteria, and again, it's simple criteria. They met it, so.
Any other discussion? Shall I call for the question? All those in favor of resolution authorizing the fixing of real property assessments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Selectmen.
I would just, again, ask, I don't want to lose track of the fact that we have to work on that. So I don't know if we slate it for a work
Yeah.
group or however we do
What-
it, but
I think as soon as we're done with the budget after the referendum.
we have to do this.
I
This should
agree.
be our top priority.
Yeah.
How about I add that to, for now, our follow-up items on the
Yeah.
agenda for going forward, so we don't lose track
Yes,
of it?
please.
Okay.
Yep.
I agree. I think this is important too.
And I'll be available to help you guys do this too as well.
Thank
So-
you.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah, and Rich, thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah,
Really
no problem.
appreciate it.
So-
And I think we're all set, right? Yeah. Thank you, Rich.
No problem.
You can get- yeah,
You
thanks.
guys know where to find me.
All right, so that's item D. Item E on tonight's agenda is an item that Selectman Hernandez brought forward, a request for funds for the 2022 Juneteenth events. Mike, would you like to talk on that?
Yeah, so as the liaison to the Committee of Solidarity, we've had a lot of discussions and about their celebration for Juneteenth. And so last year, the same thing happened. I asked the board to allocate some money from the contingency. And these costs go to the celebration for the event. It pays for like food trucks, meals, water supply, like water for the people. It pays for different events that they. April, would you like to come up and explain what it actually, you have the budget on it?
And April, if you can explain what was done by the board in the past in terms of dollars and assistance, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, so last year we were given a budget of $1,000 out of the contingency fee. We actually did not use the entire budget last year. With COVID, there were so many restrictions on what we could and couldn't do, so we actually gave back, I want to say we gave back close to $700 of it. So this year we're asking for $1,000 again, and this year it's going to go towards the DJ, a bounce house, food from Sarah's on Main, and then advertisement.
Yeah, so I would, I'm asking the board here, I want to make a motion to allocate up to $1,000 from contingency to the Committee of Solidarity for the planning of their 2022 Juneteenth event.
I'll second that motion. Ooh, that was stereo.
That was a dead time.
I don't know.
Recording secretary, you call that one.
I think the picture won. That looks like a yes.
All right, who seconded it?
Sean.
Sean.
Okay. That's good. Any discussion?
I know we talked about during the budget, and a few people recommended that it become a line item in the budget. And with something that's gonna be done every year, like the parade, the fair, things like that, I'd like to see it added to the budget, so she doesn't have to come here every year and say, we need this money.
I agree.
I
So
think it's a great idea.
Next budget season, we'll ask Tom if he would add a
Yeah.
line item.
Next budget, where was everybody 2 weeks ago?
Tom kind of scared me from asking him anything, so I kind of crawled in a hole.
stopped asking questions.
No, I agree. But just so everyone is aware that we will have to do this again next year because the budget as it's been adopted by the board does not include this. So this is the fiscal 2022 budget, and then the fiscal 2023 budget is the one that will be for next year. So when we do the budget for next year, it will be fiscal year 2024, just so everyone's aware.
So one more time.
So you gotta do it one more.
So you gotta do it one more time, April.
But you'll see the draft, the proposed where it is there, and she'll
That's
know.
right.
We'll know it's coming eventually.
All right, so with that, all those in favor of allocating up to $1,000 from contingency for the June 2022 Juneteenth celebration, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, April.
Thank you.
All right. The next item on the agenda is one I know all the selectmen are very passionate about, I believe, and this is our, as we spoke about several weeks ago, we have this easement now that was given to us by Tilcon who has been a tremendous partner and a business partner for the town of Portland for many years. And the site of the Tilcon Tomaso baseball field is now going to be an access way for the town of Portland to get to the Connecticut River, to get to town property that the town of Portland already owns along the Connecticut River. And so there is some work that needs to be done with this, a lot of work. And I did reach out to Chris Costello, who is the representative from Tilcon, and he did confirm that Tilcon also will be dismantling the baseball field. So that will not be a cost to the town of Portland, which is again another great service. We cannot thank Tilcon enough for their generosity. And so with this, there is a need for, I believe, for a committee to be formed that will spearhead this work. And so I know that both Rick Shar and Lou Pear have been working very hard behind the scenes and as former selectmen to find public river access for Portland residents for many years, and I believe both of them would like to spearhead this Riverfront Access Committee. And so we drafted a resolution that would create a Riverfront Access Committee. And I see this as similar to our Airline Trail Committee that we've had in the past, and even the Brownstone Quorum, which has done some wonderful work, started as a town committee. And so this is kind of continues that heritage to focus specifically on riverfront access. And so if someone would like to introduce this resolution, I think that it would be beneficial for the town.
I'll read it.
Thank you, Ralph.
Resolution, Board of Selectmen, Town of Portland, Connecticut, April 20th, 2022. Resolution creating a Riverfront Access Committee. Whereas despite the extensive frontage along the Connecticut River, the Town of Portland does not have a waterfront access point for public recreational use. Thus, it has long been a goal of the towns and the Board of Selectmen to establish public riverfront access. And whereas, in keeping with the goals of the 2016 to 2026 Plan of Conservation and Development, it is key to implement actions to work with private and public partners to promote riverfront redevelopment with recreational and limited mixed use. And whereas Tilcon, a CRH company, generously allowed the town to utilize a Little League baseball field on their Airline Avenue property for many years. However, now that the field is no longer in use, Tilcon has generously granted the town an easement on that same property for the purpose of an access drive and public parking area that will connect the town-owned property along the Connecticut River, which is otherwise landlocked. And whereas the Portland Board of Selectmen recognizes the need to appoint a committee whose goals shall include but shall not be limited to: 1, developing a specific plan for public access to Connecticut riverfront via the Tilcon property for hiking, fishing, and non-motorized boating. Bullet 2, identifying funding resources to see the project through to completion. Bullet 3, disseminating information regarding the riverfront access project to the general public. And the final bullet, cooperating with regional entities such as the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection to ensure proper compliance. And now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Selectmen, pursuant to Section 405, subsection 5 of the Portland Charter, hereby creates a Riverfront Access Committee, hereinafter the committee, consisting of 5 regular members and 2 alternates. And be it further resolved that the first selectman, the town planner, the director of Parks and Recreation, and the director of Public Works shall be ex officio non-voting members of the committee, with all the rights, duties, and responsibilities accorded ex officio members. And be it further resolved that the Board of Selectmen retains the right to decide whether to replace any members who may resign or be removed for failure to participate in the work of the committee. And if such members are not replaced, the actual number of members shall be those members serving at any given time. And be it further resolved that the committee shall adhere to all aspects of the Freedom of Information law dealing with public agencies, and be it further resolved that the committee shall continue to function until such time as the work called for in this resolution is completed, at which time the committee shall notify the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen shall disband the committee.
I will second the motion on that resolution.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion?
Great idea.
Call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution creating a Riverfront Access Committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. And so we'll, at our upcoming meetings, we can talk about appointments and all that. I know, I believe Lou and Rick have a list already, so I don't think we'll have very much work on this topic, so. So item G under new business this evening is, we have an update and just to review our policies on our affirmative action policy statement, our fair housing policy statement, our Title IX of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 policy statement, and notice to the public. So we have these. Would perhaps someone like to read each, well, we can split them up. Would someone like to read one? Can someone like to read the affirmative action policy statement?
I'll take it.
Okay, thank you, John.
Town of Portland, Connecticut Affirmative Action Policy Statement. As first selectman of the Town of Portland, Connecticut, I recognize the need for affirmative action, and I pledge my commitment to undertake positive actions to overcome the present effects of past practices or barriers to equal employment opportunity, and to achieve the full and fair participation of minorities, women, people with disabilities, older persons, and all other protected groups found to be underutilized in the Town of Portland workforce or affected by policies having an adverse impact. In the spirit of Executive Order 11, signed by Governor Ella Grasso on November 21st, 1975, and Executive Order 9, signed by Governor William O'Neill on January 3rd, 1984, the Town of Portland further states that it will comply with the anti-discrimination provisions of the state and federal laws and regulations listed at the end of this section. The town recognizes the hiring difficulties experienced by minorities, people with disabilities, and by many older persons, and where appropriate, the town has set goals to overcome the present effects of past discrimination, and if any, to achieve the full and fair utilization of such persons in the workforce. The town further pledges that it will affirmatively provide services and programs in a fair and impartial manner. Where adverse impact is identified, the town will, 1, review its personnel policies and procedures to ensure that barriers which unnecessarily exclude protected classes and practices which have an illegal discriminatory impact are identified and eliminated. 2, explore alternative approaches to employ minorities and members of protected classes. 3, administer all terms, conditions, privileges, and benefits of the employment process in an equitable manner. And 4, establish procedures for the extra effort that may be necessary to ensure that the recruitment and hiring of protected group members reflect their availability in the job market. It is the policy of the town to provide equal employment opportunities without consideration of race, color, religion, age, sex, marital status, gender identity or gender expression, national origin, genetic information, past or present history of mental disability, ancestry, mental retardation, learning or physical disabilities, including but not limited to blindness, sexual orientation, political belief or criminal record, unless the provisions of Section 46A-60B, 46A-80B, and 46A-81B of the Connecticut General Statutes are controlling, or there is a bona fide occupational qualification excluding persons in one of the above protected groups. This policy applies to all aspects of the employer-employee relationship, including but not limited to recruitment, hiring, referrals, classifying, advertising, training, upgrading, promotion, benefits, compensation, discipline, layoffs, and terminations. The town will implement, monitor, and enforce this affirmative action policy statement in conjunction with the applicable federal and state laws, regulations, and executive orders listed below. 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments of the United States Constitution, Civil Rights Act of 1866, 1870, 1871, Equal Pay Act of 1963, Title VI and Title VII of Title VII of the 1964 United States Civil Rights Act, Presidential Executive Orders 11246, amended by 11375, non-discrimination under federal contracts, Act 1, Section 1 and 20 of the Connecticut Constitution, Governor Grasso's Executive Order Number 11, Governor O'Neill Executive Order Number 9, the Connecticut Fair Employment Practices Law 46A-63-64, Discrimination Against Criminal Offenders 46A-80, Connecticut General Statutes, Connecticut Code of Fair Accommodations Law 46A-63-64, Definition of Blind 46A-51 subsection 1, Definition of Physical Disability 46A-51 section 15, Definition of Mentally Retarded 46A-51 13, Cooperation with the Commissioner of Human Rights and Opportunities 46A-77, Sexual Harassment 46-60A, Connecticut Credit Discrimination Law 360436 through 439, Title I of the State and the Local Fiscal Assistance Act of 1972, and the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1992. This policy statement will be distributed annually to all town employees and will be posted throughout the projects owned and managed by the town of Portland. I also expect each supplier, union, consultant, and other entities with which we do business to comply with all applicable state and federal equal opportunity laws and regulations. The town will not knowingly do business with any entity debarred from participation in a federal or state program or found to be in violation of any state or federal anti-discrimination law. I, Ryan Curley, First Selectman, have the responsibility to achieve successful implementation of our goals and objectives. I can be reached at Portland Town Hall, 33 East Main Street, Post Office Box 71, Portland, Connecticut 06480, or 860-342-6715. This affirmative action policy statement reaffirms my personal commitment and that of the Board of Selectmen to the principles of equal employment opportunity, readopted this 20th day of April in the year 2022, Town of Portland, Connecticut, County of Middlesex, Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman. And at the bottom it says, this statement is available in large print or on audio tape from the ADA-504 coordinator by contacting Peter Wilsey, Building Official, Portland Town Hall, 33 East Main Street, Post Office Box 71, Portland, Connecticut 06480, or calling 860-342-6728.
Thank you, John. Not sure if we need to.
I say we voting on all these as a whole.
Yeah,
Just read it.
I think we're just reading them. I think we're
Into the
just reading them and into the record. So, would someone like to read the fair housing policy statement?
I will.
read it.
I'll read it.
You read, okay.
He never
Good. Mikey never reads.
I know, I feel bad. Fair housing policy statement. It is both a policy and strong commitment of the town of Portland to promote fair housing opportunities in all its programs and housing development activities. and to take affirmative action through education and implementation of policies which ensure equal housing opportunities for all persons and families. To the town of Portland will take affirmative action to ensure that all tenants, applicants, and residents are treated fairly without regard to their race, color, religion, age, sex, marital status, sexual orientation, national origin, ancestry, political beliefs, mental disabilities, learning disabilities, physical disabilities, including blindness, lawful source of income, or because the individual has children. The town of Portland will continue to make a good faith effort to comply with all federal and state laws and policies which speak to fair housing practices. It is the policy of the town of Portland that all housing-related personnel be trained and educated in the principles of fair housing and equal opportunity, so that the equal housing opportunity may be available to all qualified applicants. The Fair Housing Policy Statement reaffirms our commitment to the principles of fair housing and equal opportunity housing practices. The Fair Housing Officer, First Selectman, Ryan Curley, or his designated representative, is responsible for the implementation of the Fair Housing Policy Statement and the enforcement of this policy. The Fair Housing Officer may be reached at 860-342-6715. Complaints pertaining to discrimination in any program funded by the town of Portland may be filed with the Fair Housing Officer. The town's grievance procedure will be utilized in these cases. Complaints may also be filed with the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, Housing Discrimination Unit, 450 Columbus Boulevard, Suite 2, Hartford, Connecticut, 06103, telephone number 860-541-3403, fax number 860-541-4701. 1-800 number is 1-800-777-5737, extension 3403. Readopted this 20th day of April in the year 2022. Town of Portland, Connecticut, County of Middlesex. Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman.
Thank you, Mike. And accompanying that, there's a fair housing policy discrimination complaint procedure form that is available to anyone who needs to file, would like to file a complaint. And
Are these on our website? Or
they should be.
They
on the
should be?
website, yeah.
Because I'm thinking if anybody has any questions or wants to see them, they can go to the website.
So the next one we have is the Title IX of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 policy statement.
Title VI.
Oh, Title VI, excuse me. I'm sorry. A lot of reading today. So anyways, Title VI. So who would like to read Title VI?
I would love to.
Thank you, Mike.
Both Mikes are stepping up tonight. I got shamed.
Either end of the table.
There you go. We got it covered. Oh, this one. Oh, shoot, it's a long one. All right. Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 Policy Statement. The town of Portland is committed to ensuring that no person is excluded from participation, denied benefits, or otherwise subjected to discrimination under any program or activity on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, age, or disability. The town of Portland, as a recipient of federal financial assistance, will ensure full compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, as amended, and related statutes and regulations in all town programs and activities. Any person who believes that he or she has been subjected to discrimination or retaliation based on their race, color, national origin, sex, age, or disability may file a Title VI complaint. Complaints may be filed directly to the town of Portland or to the federal funding agency. Complaints must be filed in writing and signed by the complainant or a representative, and should include the complainant's name, address, and telephone number, or other means by which the complainant can be contacted. Complaints must be filed within 180 days of the date of the alleged discriminatory act. To request additional information on the town's non-discrimination obligations or to file a Title VI complaint, please submit your request or written complaint to Title VI Coordinator, Office of the First Selectman, P.O. Box 71, Portland, Connecticut 06480-0071. Complaint forms can be obtained online at the town's website, www.portlandct.org, as well as the Federal Transit Administration Title VI complaints may be filed directly to the FTA Office of Civil Rights, 1200 New Jersey Avenue Southeast, Washington, D.C. 20590, or the Federal Highway Administration, FHWA. Title VI complaints may be filed directly to the FHWA Office of Civil Rights, 1200 New Jersey Avenue Southeast, same place, 8th floor, E-81-105, Washington, D.C. 20590.
All right, so we also have the Title VI notice to the public. Sean, would you like to read that?
Sure.
Do this voluntold.
Town of Portland, Connecticut, Title VI, notice to the public. The Town of Portland operates its programs and services without regard to race, color, and national origin in the accordance with the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Any person who believes that he or she has been aggrieved by any unlawful, discriminatory practice under the Title VI may file a complaint with the Town of Portland. For more information on the Town of Portland Civil Rights Program and the procedures to file a complaint, contact 860-342-6715, TRS 711, rcurley@portlandct.org, or visit our administrative office at 33 East Main Street, Portland, Connecticut 06480. For more information, visit www.portlandct.org. A complainant may file a complaint directly with the Connecticut Department of Transportation by filing a complaint with the Office of Contract Compliance Attention, Title VI Coordinator, 2800 Berlin Turnpike, Newington, Connecticut 06111. A complainant may file a complaint directly with the Federal Transit Administration by filing a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights Attention, Title VI Program Coordinator, East Building, 5th floor, TCR, 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. 20590. If information is needed in another language, contact 860-342-6715.
Thank you, Sean.
Now, Sean, you're not going to read the 13 languages underneath too?
No, I can try 12.
The only thing I was thinking about though, and I'll be honest with you, I should know after doing this 5 or 6 times, whatever it is, and Mike too, I'm just not sure if we're supposed to make a motion on any of them to say that we, because one of them talks about the Board of Selectmen and the First Selectman.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones really just mention you, but I just don't remember.
I think we're just reaffirming our policy, and this has been the town's policy. The only updates to this were some changes, my name being changed from Susan's name, and so this is our ongoing policy. Nothing has changed here. If you would like to make a motion to approve all them, I mean, we can. Would you like to do that, Ralph? I don't see a harm in that.
Yeah,
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, good.
yeah, I'd make a motion that we approve the group of documents and statements that we've just reviewed with regards to affirmative action policy statement, fair housing policy statement, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 policy statement, and the corresponding notice to the public.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sean. All those, any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you all for reading, too.
We just didn't want to have to read those again.
So next up, we have, well, it might not be, someone else might get a chance to read, because we have some proclamations here. And the first one being, it is Fair Housing Month. The month of April is Fair Housing Month. The selectmen should have a packet in there. Is there anyone who would like to read the proclamation of Fair Housing Month? And don't everyone jump at once.
I thought that's usually the first selectman that reads.
I can read it. If you want me to read it, I will read it.
You signed it.
Okay.
Yeah, you
I will,
signed it.
I will read the proclamation. I was going to read the other one, so I will read these. Proclamation, Fair Housing Month. Whereas April 2022 marks the 54th anniversary of Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, known as the Civil Rights Fair Housing Act. And whereas this act provides equal housing opportunities for all Americans, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, as well as to ensure fair practice in the sale, rental, or financing of property. And whereas the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988 added a new rights, remedies, monetary penalties, and strengthened its enforcement procedures. And whereas the Fair Housing Amendments Act seeks to provide equal housing opportunities to affirmatively further housing choices, to eliminate legal barriers to equal housing, and to emphasize equal housing as a fundamental human right for all. And whereas recipients of funds from the town must carry out an affirmative marketing program to attract prospective buyers or tenants of all majority and minority groups without consideration of race, color, religion, sex, disability, age, gender, identity, familial status, or national origin. And whereas the town of Portland, Connecticut fully supports the intent and purpose of the Federal Housing Act, local fair housing laws, and follows procedures and practices in order to achieve its goal, now therefore be it resolved that I, Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman of the Town of Portland, Connecticut, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2022 as Fair Housing Month, in witness whereof I hereby set my hand and cause the seal of Portland to be affixed this 20th day of April in the year 2022 by Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman, Portland Board of Selectmen, John H. Dillon, Michael S. Hernandez, Robert W. Hetrick Jr., Sean P. Manning, Michael A. Pelton, Ralph R. Zampano. And now, would someone like to make a motion and endorse this?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Thank you, Sean.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ralph. All those in favor of the proclamation for Fair Housing Month, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. The next one that I have here is, I had the opportunity yesterday evening to attend the Arrow of Light Award for our Cub Scout pack
well.
here in town. And it was a wonderful event that took place. And for those of you who don't know what the Arrow of Light is, it's the crossing over of the Cub Scouts that completed all of their requirements to earn the Arrow of Light Award, which allows them to then move on to the Boy Scouts. So there was the crossing of the ceremonial bridge last night, and I believe there were 7 scouts that earned their Arrow of Light Award, and of the 7, 5 have chosen to move on and stick with the Scouts. So I do know that tonight was their first Boy Scout meeting. So we want to wish them luck as they move on from Cub Scout Pack 2.
Saw him outside the company too on my way here.
So I'll read this certificate of congratulations. May it be known, this certificate is being presented by the Portland Board of Selectmen to recognize and honor Cub Scout Pack 2, Portland, Connecticut. The volunteers and parents of Pack 2 provide outstanding guidance and encouragement to boys, helping them to build character, participate in citizenship activities, and develop physical and mental fitness. All these characteristics are very important to building a conscientious, responsible, productive, and patriotic society in our town, state, and country. We congratulate each and every volunteer, parent, and Cub Scout member of Portland Cub Scout Pack 2. The Blue and Gold Banquet being held this evening is to honor the following outstanding individuals who have earned their Arrow of Light Award. And that is Chase Allen, Nathan Clark, Declan Kelly, Sebi Barone, William Hunter, Cooper Varden, and Aidan Walsh. On behalf of all the citizens of Portland, we commend your achievements. Congratulations. Presented this 19th day of April in the year 2022, signed Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman, Town of Portland, Board of Selectmen, John H. Dillon, Robert W. Hedrick Jr., Michael A. Pelton, Michael S. Hernandez, Sean P. Manning, and Ralph R. Zampano. And can I get a motion to approve this certificate of congratulations?
I'll second it.
So
You
who,
gotta get a motion. You're gonna
Oh,
do
I'll
it.
make, I'm sorry, I'll
You're
make,
making the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Then he'll-
okay. Sean, all those in favor of accepting the certificate of congratulations?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention, motion carries. Thank you.
And if I can just say to these young guys, stick with it.
Yeah.
Boy Scouts is a great thing. I mean, you're an Eagle Scout. My son's an Eagle Scout. And he, to this day, he'll meet people, and I'm sure you see this too. It's this, you're a proud member of this society. He'll be meeting somebody he's never seen before, and as soon as you find out it's an Eagle Scout, it's like, you cut to the chase, and all of a sudden you've got a major thing in common. It's a really great thing to do.
Well said. Yes, totally agree, John. Thank you. So stick with it for those who can't.
Okay.
The next item is, it was also brought to our attention, and April Graves is with us this evening as well, that the month of April is also Autism Awareness Month. And so the Solidarity Committee reached out and asked if the town might be interested in a proclamation, acknowledging the month of April being Autism Awareness Month. And I think it is very important that the town of Portland does so. So I do want to thank you, April, for bringing this to our attention here. So I will read this proclamation on Autism Awareness Month. Whereas autism is a pervasive developmental disorder affecting the social, communication, and behavioral skills of those affected by it, and whereas more than 5 million Americans live with autism, however, there has been significant progress made in improving access to opportunities for people with development disabilities in recent years, and whereas there are still many barriers people with autism face in their daily lives. In order to improve quality of life for people with autism and their families, the government is committed to funding research to better understand, improve methods for early identification, and diagnose and innovative services to treat autism. And whereas, while educational and social programs are vital to improving opportunities to those with autism, there are organizations advocating the expansion of programs beyond school years to provide attention, care, and support the well-being of those with autism throughout their life. And whereas during the month of April, citizens can take the pledge to create a world where people with autism can reach their full potential by increasing understanding and acceptance, along with encouraging inclusive employment, living, and social environment. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman of the Town of Portland, Connecticut, hereby proclaim the month of April as Autism Awareness Month in the Town of Portland, Connecticut, and urge all citizens to become more aware of autism and encourage acceptance, understanding, and inclusion with daily acts of kindness in our community. In witness whereof, I do hereby set my hand and cause the seal of Portland to be affixed this 20th day of April in the year 2022 by Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman, Town of Portland, Connecticut, Portland Board of Selectmen, John H. Dillon, Michael S. Hernandez, Robert W. Hedrick Jr., Sean P. Manning, Michael A. Pelton, Ralph R. Zampano. So,
I'll make a motion to
I'll-
support that proclamation.
I'll second that.
thank you, Ralph and Sean. All those in favor of the proclamation on autism awareness?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you all. I think I'm done reading for now. So.
Now it's Bobby and Ralph now.
So that is item H. Now, item I on the agenda tonight is what's that?
Our NAA.
It's our NAA, yes. And So Ralph, would you like to
Yeah.
introduce
I
this?
figure it's probably my, my turn. So I will read our resolution, Board of Selectmen, Town of Portland, April 20th, 2022. 2022 Neighborhood Assistance Act, known as NAA, Program Participation. Whereas the State of Connecticut Department of Revenue Services is providing the Town of Portland the opportunity to participate in the 2022 Neighborhood Assistance Act, thus allowing interested nonprofit organizations within the municipality to submit applications. And whereas in accordance with the State of Connecticut Department of Revenue Services, the Board of Selectmen shall hold a public hearing on all programs, and the governing body of the municipality must vote to approve these programs. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Portland Board of Selectmen does hereby designate the First Selectman Ryan J. Curley as liaison to handle all Neighborhood Assistance Act matters.
I'll make a motion, we accept the resolution.
I'll second it.
Okay. And any discussion on this? So, we had our,
I did. Over here. This work this way.
He's talking,
It is-
reading,
it is
it's a
good.
whole new Mikey tonight.
Mike opens up around the 10 o'clock mark. Any discussion on this? All those in favor of the 2022 Neighborhood Assistance Act program participation?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you all. Moving on to item J, we have, under new business, refunds of excess payments.
I would love to do that, to give Ralph a break.
Oh, no, I only second, you're giving
Yeah,
me.
I'll second you.
Motion for refunds of excess payment, Gannon Patricia, $241.49.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Thank you more enthusiastically.
Motion for refunds of excess payment, Ritchie Place LLC, $125.16.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Refund of excess payment, Ritchie Place LLC, $368.36.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Motion for refund of excess payment, Sawala Alexander Z, $521.56.
Second.
All those in favor of refunding Alexander Suwala $521.56?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Motion for refund of excess payment, Hyundai Lease Titling Trust, $108.18.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Motion refund of excess payment, Body Flex Physical Therapy LLC, $54.94.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you all.
I have to say, that second didn't have the gusto it
I know.
usually has.
It kind of missed it, huh?
Yeah.
You'll get there.
I'm working. I can never be you, Ralph.
I second that. 9, status and committee reports. I'm going to turn it over to Ralph first.
I got two committees, commissions to talk about. The first one was from Water and Sewer Commission. Sean and I were at the meeting. So, couple items to note that were noteworthy. They are in the midst of doing some hydrant repairs within town. I don't remember exactly. I know Airline was one of them, but I can't remember the other one.
Strong's Avenue was the
Strong,
other.
okay. They had discovered it was probably a long running leak on Summer Street that luckily they have found and are, I don't know if they've fully repaired it, but we're in the midst of repairing it. And they think it's been there for many years, so it's good that we found it. At that point, they're saying the bills should be going out. I know they came out because I already got mine abated, so they are out. And the last item, which is the biggest one, is certainly around the fact that they continue to work on getting a company in place to do the water alternative water source search for us. And at that meeting, they talked about two of the companies, and they gave a preliminary agreement to select one of the companies pending some further discussion with the state to make sure they had clarification. So hopefully they'll be working their way through that soon so that we can begin that process to take a look at sites for water. The other one I have is Parks and Recreation. Items that came out of that meeting that were noteworthy. There is a trail day coming up on June 11th, and there will be event, I would think, to be at the trailhead. There'll be an event from 11 to 2 where leading groups along the Portland Trail, Airline Trail. So that's good. The work on figuring out how to close out the bonding for the park is moving along. We are looking to get a clarification, get the final invoice from the RETA developers so that we can, that can be paid out. We've preliminarily thought about how much money will be left, and hoping that that money would be used to purchase a plaque that we intend to recognize all the people, the large group of people that worked on the project, that would be mounted at the park. And to also, the other thing would look to try to purchase some trash receptacles for the park. There were a few outstanding items. The activator for the splash pad was actually updated and is in place. The sensor, was a sensor that had an issue, but they determined that the sensor looks to be working appropriately, so we'll just retain the sensor in case in the future we have an issue. So we're closing out at the end of trying to figure out what has to be done with regards to bonding, and I think there's questions out to make sure, well, what other tasks are available with that. And the last thing just to note with Park and Rec is that we had a very successful Easter egg hunt a couple weeks ago at the new park, and it worked very well being at a new location. And we had amazingly dodged raindrops on both sides, but squeezed it in, so it was a very nice event. So those are my two items.
Thank you, Ralph.
Yep.
Ralph, I just thought about this for the Park and Rec. If they're gonna be taking down all that stuff at Tilcon, Tomaso, are those bleachers salvageable to bring up to the new park? The set of
Are
bleachers
there still bleachers there?
there? Yeah. think there's
Yeah,
two
we'd
sets
have
there.
to.
I would
I
have
should-
somebody
yeah.
look into it if they're still in decent shape.
I'll make a mention to Nate so he could look into it, because you're right, if they're in good shape, then we might as well retain them for use.
Yeah, okay.
Any other updates?
I don't have any updates, but I would just like to say, I'd like to throw my name in the hat as a liaison for the Riverfront Access Committee when it's formed.
Oh,
If anyone's more passionate.
Oh,
you can have
you
Bob
got
do
me
it.
too, so,
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, I think both,
Okay.
yeah.
yes, I'd love to be involved.
Great. I just want to say a couple things. I believe that the airline trail it has a hike this weekend, at 10 a.m. on the 23rd? Yeah, on the 23rd. So they will be, it's a national trails day, I believe. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention, that it's a great event. And also, Friday is Earth Day, and so our youth services, and along with the Conservation Commission, are doing what I think is a really great idea in town, and that is they have picked up bags from the town transfer station, and so you can, if you would so choose, adopt a town street or a park, and you can pick up a bag from youth services, and you can use that to clean up any litter or trash that you see on the road, and you can bring that to the transfer station at no charge. So it's a really cool program. I want to thank Jesse Ravicki for and Norm Ward, I believe, the two of them worked on that, And so they're gonna be there in front of the Buck Foreman building where we are on Saturday as well. I believe it's 8 to noon on Saturday to pick up a bag if you would like to as well. So thank you for that. And yeah, Ralph, you touched on it with the water and sewer. We should have an answer. I spoke with DPH today, and we should have an answer as far as our question regarding those two firms. The Sarah, who I spoke to, is reviewing it, and I should have an answer by early next week. So just to give you an update on that. And that is it for me.
How is the process going at Brownstone Avenue with the remediation?
So the remediation has been tied up with the state on Brownstone Avenue. So I spoke with Ty and Bond late last week, Friday. I spoke with Nick Renata, and part of the problem is, the hang-up is that the state is behind on approving what they need to approve in order for us to get the remediation work. So at this point, that's a great question. At this point, we're waiting on the state, and our developer, our firm is in place, and that's ECR, Enviro Consultants and Recyclers. Their equipment's there. They're ready to begin the remediation, and so we're just waiting to get the green light from the state. So I should have an answer on that soon. Then, and on that, there is a possibility, and I should mention this, that, and I don't know if this will happen yet, but the remediation was scheduled to begin now, or it was supposed to begin in March. And so here we are in April, and we're still waiting for the approvals. And it's not, it's just the way it is right now with the state. And so with the Brownstone Exploration and Discovery Park beginning, there's a chance that it might be beneficial for us to wait on the remediation till September, when the park closes, so that we don't have all this work being done in the middle of the summer when we have all these visitors. And
We were just talking earlier tonight about having safe means for pedestrians on that street.
Mhm.
If you had that construction going on across the street.
Yeah, so I really don't like to report that there's delays in anything, but that's unfortunately just where we are with the state right now. So thank you for bringing that up. Good question.
And I know it's not the right time, but while we're in that Brownstone Avenue area, do you have an update on the RFP for that property down there?
I have, the RFP is on Tom's desk. It's in Tom's email. It's ready to go. I know that Tom, today, we worked on the RFQ for the track. So that's kind of taken a little bit of a priority.
Yeah.
So, Tom is aware. I just emailed him. Yeah, I know. Tom does he's got a lot, but no, we have not forgotten about that RFP, and we do have to get that out. But we also have the track, there's a lot in the
And I think there's a benefit to putting out an RFP, trying to entice people into the interest in a riverfront property. It's better putting it out this time of year than it is
correct
in the winter.
Correct. Yeah. So I really want to get that out certainly in May, by May. So thank you, John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, there was one other thing I forgot in the midst of bouncing around my notes. We do have a new, I know it was on social media, but we do have a park attendant at the new park to allow for those bathrooms to now be available for use during the core season starting now till the fall. So the bathrooms will be available.
So we did, and just to touch on that, Ralph, we posted this job for a park attendant, and it was posted for quite some time, and I think I even mentioned it here, and we had one applicant. And so I just want to put it out at this meeting that we would love a backup. So if anyone has some summer plans or doesn't have any summer plans and would like to be a backup, please come see the First Selectman's office and we can get you an application. But thank you, Ralph.
Yeah, you don't want to see the poor guy not be able to take vacation time.
Right now, and I do think that I did hear that someone else was applying for the position as well, but I would really like a team, and so people can go on a vacation or, not have to be there at a certain time every day of the week. So, but thank you to Mark Grover for stepping up and helping the town out with this. Thank you.
Is there any update on a trash agreement?
The trash agreement is under our follow-up items tonight. I have a contract. I have had it reviewed by our town attorney, and I have comments on that. Bob has told me that he is comfortable with the agreement. It is for the same prices that we went over before. So it is still beneficial to the town. I didn't bring it forward because honestly, I wanted to have a conversation with our attorney before bringing it before the Board of Selectmen, and I just have not been able to have that conversation yet. So we have some time, so really our May 4th meeting is when you can expect to see that on the agenda. Any other questions? It's more, so we'll move to public comment. Any public comment?
Nothing in the chat.
Oh, they're all sleeping.
Hey, nobody in the chat, okay. So we'll move to Board of Selectmen general informal discussion. Any additional?
You kind of already had that.
Kind of covered it. All right, well, we hit the 10 o'clock mark, so we'll move on. I have nothing on the ethics ordinance for follow-up items. Review town charter, I don't have anything tonight. And then Murphy Road recycling's on here. And as John mentioned, we'll add to follow-up items the fixed assessment agreement for upcoming meetings and we'll probably put that under old business too at some point and look at that. But with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I think Bobby beat you to it, John.
It's all yours, Bob.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Thank you all. Have a good night.
You too.